Hey YouTube, it is Saturday and this is Kai, and today we're going to be talking about dysphoria. But before I go on to that, I would like to encourage you to visit my personal YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description area of this video because I'm going to be posting a video where I'm going to be listing different ideas that I have for t-shirt prints because I want to make t-shirts and then sell them to raise money for my top surgery. And so if you go to my channel and watch that video and vote, that would give me some idea as to what ideas are popular and what ones I should nix. And that'd be really awesome because I have dysphoria, which is what we're talking about. So I remember when I was around 3 years old and I was really dismayed that I didn't have a penis, and so I would sneak straws or other like tube-like objects into the bathroom and I would try to pee through them. I also remember at that age, around like 3 until I was around like 8 maybe, having a lot of shame around my genital area. My parents would see my genitals or my bodies and I would feel ashamed that I looked that way. And I never understood what that was about until I got older and realized that I'm not a woman, and I just like felt this weird shame around my body. So since my youth, that dysphoria that orbited around my genitals has since dissipated, and I'm just like, hey, they're genitals, okay. If a magic genie came from the ceiling and was like, hey, do you want to try out a penis? I would be like, hey, yeah, thanks. But I don't think that's gonna happen. I can kind of live with them the way that they are. I don't feel like too much around them. The areas of my body, though, that really get me twisted are my breasts and my hips. And my like fat distribution around my body. And I used to think that like my breasts weren't big enough, or they weren't shaped right, or that like I was too fat. And so I had all these like excuses or ideas as to why my body wasn't good enough and why I felt like so gross in it. But then I realized that the things about my body that I don't like are those that are hyper feminized. And that was a really liberating admission for me to understand that like, you're not deformed, you're just not a woman, and that's why these things don't look right and they don't feel right. And that's like another thing. I think that I hear a lot about people having dysphoria around the way that something looks, but for me it's also the way that it like feels. Like the way that like having breasts feels against a shirt, or the way that like fatty areas of my body like feel, when those might be perfectly fine for somebody who identifies as being a female, but for me, like, I don't identify with those things and they don't feel normal. So to ease my chest dysphoria, I do bind, and I use a proper binder. And Bobby Joe touched on this in their video, where you shouldn't be binding with things that could possibly injure you. And I totally agree. Bravo for bringing that up. Safety first. We don't want anyone breaking a rib. We don't want anyone wearing a binder that's so tight that their lungs fill up with fluid. You want to be able to breathe. Safety is so important. So now that I've stressed that, so I'm able to bind, right? And that's really great. But I'm not able to bind my hips. And so, and I'm not able to like do something about my voice until the testosterone changes it. And so there are things that I just have to deal with, and I have to understand that as, you know, a genderqueer trans person, I'm going to be moving through space for at least a period of time, and maybe for the rest of my life, depending on what does and does not change with hormones, with areas of my body and aspects of myself that I feel dysphoria around. And I think that it's really important for me to remember that just because there are these things about me that are incongruent, that does not make me any less of a person, that does not make me any less capable. I am worth respect. I am a worthwhile human being who is worthy of love. And I'm capable of giving a lot. And there have been points in my life where I have felt so bad about the way that my body is that it's kind of petrified me, where I'm not able to take action or be who I am or laugh and so on and so forth. And that's been something that's been really important for me to get past. And something that helps me is understanding that I have an identity and not everyone's going to see it, but if I spend time with people that validate it despite my body's expression, and that feels really good. So that's something that I try to do to ease some of the physical dysphoria. If you're taking hormones or if you're changing your body, and this is something that I have to tell myself every day, be patient. Shit's gonna change. I don't get to choose what changes. I don't get to choose how fast. And so patience is a big thing for me with my dysphoria. And I would say that the most liberating aspect is just been identifying that I feel this way and why I feel this way, and that has empowered me to take action, do something about it. So beyond that, I don't really have much else to say on this topic, except please remember that you are a worthwhile human being and you are worthy of all the love and respect that you're just worthy of it all, baby. I'll see you next week.